Program B, Unit 3, Sensation, Attention and Perception, Subject Psychology, Semester 1. The session number is 2. Today topic is types of sense and receptors involved in each sensation. Visual sensation. Light is composed of electromagnetic waves. These waves are nothing but radiant energy emanating from a source. Ultimately from the sun, this energy faces various matters and is affected by them in a number of ways. For example, some objects slow down, some refract, some absorb, and some reflect this energy. When it enters the eye, it becomes a visual stimulus. Structure of eye. The main parts of the human eye are shown in this figure. Light enters the eye through the transparent cornea, the amount of light being regulated by the pupils. See here the lens then focus the light on the sensitive surface. The retina construction and the dilations of the pupil are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. The parasympathetic divisions control the changes in pupil size as a function change in illuminations. As we increase the shutter opening of a camera, to admit more light on a dark day and decrease the opening under conditions of bright illuminations. The sympathetic divisions had to deal the pupil under condition of a strong emotion, either pleasant or unpleasant. Even conditions of a mild emotional arousal or interest will result in systematic changes in pupil size. See here we can see ciliary body and aqueous chamber, cornea, pupil, iris, lens, and here we can see the optic nerve in a blind spot, fovea, and choroid and retina. The retinal light sensitive surface at the back of the eye has three main layers, the rods and cones, and photosensitive cells that convert light energy into nerve impulses. The bipolar cells which make synaptic connections with the rods and cones. The third one, the ganglion cells, the fiber of which form the optic nerve. Strangely enough, the rods and cones from the rear layer of the retina. The eye is a very imperfect optical system. The light waves not only have a pass through the lens and liquids that fill the eyeball, none of which is a perfect transmitter of light, but also have a penetrate the network of blood vessels and the bipolar and ganglion cells that lie on the inside of the eye before reaching the photoreceptors where light is converted into nervous impulses. Processing the visual message is one of the initial sites on the ganglion cells. Each ganglion cells gathers information from the group of rods and cones in a particular area of the eye and compare the amount of light entering the center of that area with the amount of light in the areas and around it. Some ganglion cells are activated by the light and the center. The other ganglion cells activated when there is a darkness in the centers and the light in the surroundings areas. Color vision and color blindness. Color blindness. Some are very poor in distinguishing different hues and different shades of the same hue. They can be classified into color weak and color blind. Those who have color weakness can see various colors but have difficulty in distinguishing the hues of different shades. For example, red, magenta, maroon, etc. They perceive all these colors only as red. The color blind people fail to perceive colors. These people can be classified into two subgroups like totally colorblind and partially colorblind. The totally colorblind people fail to perceive any color. All colors look gray with different degree of brightness. For them, the hues on the spectrum are equivalent to a series of gray. It is on the basis of brightness difference they differentiate colors such as people were rare. So the second one, partial colorblind are more among colorblind people. They are either red blind or green blind, or red green blind, or blue blind, or yellow blind, or blue yellow blind. Generally, red green blind are more in number of than blue yellow blind. Red green blind confuse red and green. when the brightness value of both is held constant. So also blue and yellow blind confuse one of other when the brightness is held constant. Color blindness is an abnormality and it is a sex link that tries mostly found in men. This color blindness is attributed to some defect in the cones or in their neutral connections. There are many tests of color blindness, but the most popular convenient and color blindness test. See, many colorblind are unaware to their defeat because they are able to make skillfully use their remaining colors discrimination, combining with the learned color and color names familiar object. Because our color vocabulary is not clear for understand un, unaccurate colors, and the colorblind person can make some mistake on this that troublesome the colors without being the noticed. And partially colorblind is more among the colorblind people. They are either red blind or green blind, and red green blind or blind yellow blind are is generally is a green blind is more number of than blue yellow blind, and red green blind confuse red and green, and brightness values of both is held constant. Blind spot is a small area in each eye which is a completely blind. This area is completely free from rods and cones, and hence it is not sensitive of visual stimulations, and it is located in the place where the optic nerves leave the retina to the visual cortex. Color vision for the human subject, the color spectrum fades into invisibility at the extreme ends, red and violet. We are able to see, however, some vivid colors that do not exist in the spectrum at all. They do not corresponding to any single wavelength but can be produced by mixing wavelengths. These are the purpose radar and then the violet end of the spectrum, and the red that looks the opposite at to most normal eyes. An interestingly relationship exists among the colors if the spectral colors are wrapped around the circumference of a circle, allowing room between the red and violet ends of the spectrum purple and red not to found in the spectrum. The color opposite each other on the circle will be complementary. Thus, if a light these colors are mixed proper proportions, they disappear to a neutral gray. And those familiar with the painting may object to naming the yellow and blue as complementaries, because those pigment when mixed given green, not gray. But remember that we are talking here about mixing light, not pigment. The principles of mixture into two cases are not contradictory, though the explanation of the difference of somewhat involved. The mixture of light is an additive mixture, whereas the mixture of pigment is a subtractive the mixture because of the way in which pigment selectively absorb the light. Light is the sources of the all color, and pigments are simply reflectors and absorbers of a color. The human ear. The external ear connects with an auditory canal leading to the eardrum, a movable diaphragm activated by sound waves hearing the ear. On the inner sides of the diaphragm is a cavity housing the both transmitters of the middle ear. Here are three small bones called the hammer, anvil, and sternum. The hammer is attached firmly to the eardrum, and the stem up of the another membrane, the oval window. The oval window is conducts the sounds to the cochlear. The auditory portion with the inner ear, because of the oval window, is much smaller than eardrum. Small movement at the eardrum are concerned into a magnified pressure on the oval window. Pressure at the oval window sets into motions the fluid inside the cochlear, and this the pressure is relieved at the round window at the other end of the fluid filled channel that runs through the cochlear. Pressure changes in the fluid displays and basilar membrane in the cochlear upon which the organs, and Is a coated tester and this displacement stimulate the sensitive elements in the A cells of the organ of coating which are connected with the auditory nerves. The pathway of the auditory nerves resemble those of the optic nerves and it's a nerve fibers from the each ear travel both cerebral hemisphere. The distraction of one temporal lobe will not cause complete deafness in ear. Basilar membrane, a vibrating structure, runs through the centers of the coila, is divided in the upper chamber and the lower chamber and containing the sense of receptors for sound. And A cell is the tiny cells covering the basilar membrane that when bent by the vibrations enter the coila transmit neural message of the brain. Place theories of hearing. So place theories of hearings according to the place theories of hearing. Every sound has a specific location with the coila which responded whenever the sound act upon it. Some areas in the basilar membrane is responsive to high pitch and some other area is responsive to low pitch. So pitch depends upon the part of the basilar membrane which gives the maximal response to some frequencies or vibrations, whereas loudness depends upon the how much of basilar membrane is activated. If the intensity is more, the larger area is activated and if the intensity is less, small area is activated. The next one is frequency theory. The sound waves of the thousands release 1,000 neural impulses per second and transmit them to the brain. So pitch depends upon the frequency of nerve impulses is reaching the brain. The whereas the loudness depends upon the number of auditory fibers activated. The drawback of this theory is that it cannot account for pitches of higher frequency. And then the next is valid theory of pitch depends upon the group of neuron fire in volley or squares higher pitch fire, more number of nerve fibers simultaneously and release impulsive correspondingly. Similarly, the loudness depends upon the number of auditory nerve fibers stimulated simultaneously. This theory explains many auditory phenomena is satisfactory. The other sensation is a smell. So we can see structure of smell. This is a part of smell, nasal cavity, tongue, and floor of mouth, and is a nasal hemisphere. Olfaction refers to a smell. The important structure concerned with the smell is the olfactory epithelium. The stimulus must be gaseous in form of stimulate the receptors and to make them discharge neural impulses, whose interpretation will be experienced as smell. These sense organs puts on the guard when food stuffs are unfit to eat. It helps to us to select suitable food stuff. Olfactory stimuli have been classified into six primary odors such as the fragrant, fruity, spicy, putrid, and resinous and burnt smell. The list varies from the investigator to investigator. People vary a great deal in the sensitivity to odors. Some have no olfactory sensitivity at all. This abnormality is known as the anosmia. Some are more sensitive and some are less sensitive to smells. This can be measured by using double olfactometer. It is said that the olfactory sensitivity will be more before the onset menstruations and during the early periods of pregnancy. Anyway, this sense helps to know about the world around us within its sphere to deal with it effectively. And is the evolutionary viewpoint, the smell is one of the most primitive and the most important sense. And here the olfactory cortex makes up the entire cerebral hemisphere. In a dog, the olfactory cortex represents about one third of the area of the side of the brain as contrasted with the 1/12 of this the area in man. So taste, we know that the primary taste qualities are sweet, sour, salt and bitter. Every other taste experience is composed of fusion of these qualities with the other senses, smell, texture, temperature, and sometimes pain. And it's all contributes to the sensation we experience when we taste a food. When we drink a cup of tea, we enjoy its aroma and it's a warm by means of sense. Other than taste, the taste sense provide only for the sweet, sour, bitter components. The taste receptors are found in the taste buds and the edges and towards the back of the tongue. A few are located elsewhere in a short palate, the panax and the torus, as it is known as the number of taste buds decreases with the age. So that the older people are less sensitive or to a taste than the children. Some taste buds at the tip of the tongue react only to sweet, salt, or sour. Others react to some of or all those combination. In general, sensitivity to sweet is the greatest at the tip of the tongue. To salt on the tip and the sides, to sour on the sides, and to bitter on the back. Each of the approximately 10,000 taste buds in the human audience has 15 to 20 taste cells arranged in bud-like form and its tip much like the segment of an orange. These taste cells are continuously reproducing themselves at the rate of a complete turnover for each taste but every 7 cups of hot coffee provide no causes for concern. They are quickly reprinted recording from the microsotrodes are implanted in single cells show that even the individual cells vary in their response to the four basic taste stimuli. That is, some cells many respond only to a sugar and salt, while others on the same taste buds may respond wholly to salt and acid, so forth. Measurement of impulses from the taste nerve fibers and behavioral evidence of discriminatory ability among taste substance show that the other animals differ from the man in the respectively. Of these taste buds, cats and chickens, for example, appear to have no taste receptors that respond to sweet, whereas the dog, pigs, and most vegetables do. This helps to explain the observation to pet owners that the dog usually find a desert while cat generally ignore them. The skin tells pleasure and temperature and pain. The familiar senses of cold touch is not one of sensation but blister, for touch, pain, warm and cold, all of which are felt through the distinct kinds of sensitive spots. And the skin surface, all the other the sensation that we commonly describe such as the itch, tickle and quick pricking pain and dull long lasting pains are variations of the four basic sensation and itching sensation, for example, can be produced by stimulating pain caused by the light repeated needle prick and tickle. It is experienced when the adjacent the touch spot and the skin are touched lightly rapid successions. The present receptor for the various skin sensations have been the subject of much study and dispute. At one time, the histologists identified a number of five different nerve end structures in the skin, each of which is the to the specific receptors for one of four sensations. Subsequent studies, however, failed to substantiate such as claim when investigators mapped cold, warm, touch, pain, spot, and the other wound skin, accessed the underlying tissues and examined them microscopically. There was no consistent relationship between the type of sensation and experience type of the nerve end structure. Only two things stated in some degrees certainly. One is a nerve fiber at the base of ear follicles serve as a receptor for touch of light pressures, and the other one is free nerve ending that terminate in the epidermis are involved the pain receptors. If there are only warm and cold sensitive spots on the skin surface, how can we experience the feeling of hot? The answer is that hot result from the simultaneous stimulations of water, cold, and spot. This can be demonstrated with a device that allows two streams of water to be passed through the intertwined coils. If cold water passes through both coils, they of course the feel cold when the grasp with one hand. If warm water passes through both, they feel warm. But when cold water circulates through the one set of coils and warm water through the other, the coils feels the out. This is not the way of experience of on is usually produced, but it is this stimuli of low temperature do not respond the stimuli intermediate temperature but respond against stimuli of high temperature. High temperatures then activate both warm and cold spot, and the felt experience of a art depends upon this double effect. And gate control theory of pain. The theory is particularly nervous receptor in the spinal cord and is linked to a specific areas of the brain and related pain. And some of the people most susceptible to pain, the others, for example, women experience painful stimuli more intensively than men. These gender differences are associated with the production of hormones related to menstrual cycles. In addition, certain genes are linked to the experience of pain that we may inherit our sensitivity of pain. See here the pain is a response with a great variety of different kind of stimuli, and its the light is bright can be produce pain and sound that can be loud can be painful. Is the explanation that the pain is an outcome of the cell injury and when a cell is damaged regardless of the sources of damage. It releases a chemical called substance pain that transmit the pain message to the brain. So these are the reference book we refer for our present session. Robert Feynman, that is a understanding psychology, and Atkinson and Richter, this is the introduction of psychology. Some Google link we have taken for structure of all sense organs.